welcome everybody to endeavor's webcast or podcast, whatever we're calling it nowadays, based on the technology. My name is Davin Lopez. I'm current chair of endeavOR. We are the Outdoor Business Alliance for New Mexico. This is our second podcast, and we have with us a fellow board member for endeavOR. It's Dale Davis, who, by the way, is also in the industry, in the outdoor rec industry. He runs a bike shop. He'll tell us a little bit more about that. So welcome, Dale.
Davin, thanks for having me.
So Dale, first of all, tell us about your company and your business.
My wife and I, we own 505 Cycles here in Farmington. We've owned it for, about 8.5 years now. So we've seen the highs and the lows so far of the bicycle industry. But it's, we've got Norco, Kona, some other, Segway. We've got some other brands. We've got probably about 6-7 brands in total at our bike shop.
What did you do before you got into owning a bike shop, and kind of what was your inspiration for going that route?
Well, I'm still doing what I did before I owned the bike shop. I've run a Class 8 truck dealership here in Farmington for, yesterday was 20 years. So I've been doing that for quite a while. My wife is the same way. She works full-time job. So what led to us getting into the bike shop was just one of those strange deals of fate. I'm a pretty avid mountain biker. I don't get to ride as much as I used to due to having 2 jobs and 2 boys and 2 dogs and all those things that go with it. But as a pretty avid rider, and the bike shop, the previous owner of the bike shop, I knew him, but I was up in Angel Fire riding with the manager of the shop, and he said, "Hey, by the way, Mike wants to sell. Are you interested?" And came back into town, had a conversation with Mike, and ended up owning a bike shop.
All right. Okay. So how many years? That's 8.5 years, more or less?
Yep. January 1st, 2018 is when we took over.
Well, given that you already were running a company, probably the transition to business owner of a bike shop was not too challenging of a leap, right? And given that you were a rider, I'm assuming you pretty much know what you're doing on the bike anyway. So was there any learning curve you had to deal with respect to opening the shop?
It is a learning curve. Every business is different. The truck business is in some aspects, business is business. But you're dealing with a different, I'd say, different clientele base. A lot of my customers cross over. A lot of my customers in the truck shop are customers in the bike shop as well. But it's a whole different aspect. Trucks is something they have to have, something they need to have so they can make money. Bicycles are something they want to have. So it's a completely different business. So there is a learning curve. It's more of a laid back industry than the truck industry is. The people's attitudes, I guess you'd say, are a little different. When they walk into a bike shop, typically they're happy to be there. They walk into a truck shop, a lot of times they're not happy to be there because their truck is broken, they're losing money.
Sure.
So,
right.
So it's a little different. Luckily, I have a team of phenomenal people in my bike shop, and the 3 have been there with me since the beginning. So I'm pretty lucky on that aspect. Those guys know the bike business upside down and backwards. They know they've been doing it forever. There are all 3 of the guys are just about the same age as I am. So they've all been doing it for a long time. So I'm pretty lucky on that aspect.
You said earlier you've seen the highs and the lows. What have been kind of the challenges over the time period of owning your shop, and how has the community been open to it in terms of New Mexico has really grown a lot of its outdoor rec industry. It's becoming, I think, more visible, more noticeable. More companies and businesses are forming as a result. So tell me some about those challenges and kind of where you see the industry going.
Farmington really led the way in the state of New Mexico for embracing the outdoor recreation industry. Um, you know, they started way back before the rest of the state really jumped in. So the base was starting to grow already when we purchased the bike shop. I'm pretty heavily involved locally. I'm on the Outdoor Recreation Industry Initiative Committee here in Farmington, and some other things. So I'm pretty heavily involved in what's going on locally as well as the state with endeavOR. So, the industry locally started growing. We were seeing pretty good growth up until the COVID deal. As we all know, COVID deal, especially for the outdoor rec industry, was just absolutely crazy. Again, it came with its challenges. The business was there, you just couldn't get stuff a lot of times. I have people driving from Albuquerque to buy bicycle tubes from me because they couldn't get them in Albuquerque. So it came with its own set of challenges. The business was there, and we did well. We sold a lot of product. We did put a lot of people on bicycles, brought a lot of people into the mountain biking and road biking and all that weren't doing it before. So all that was phenomenal, but it did have its own set of challenges. Now we're on the opposite side of that spectrum. For about the last 2 years, there is just an absolute abundance of bicycles on the market. All the manufacturers have more inventory than they know what to do with. So you've seen prices right now on bicycles are probably half of what they were 10 years ago. So they've really had to drop the pricing on bikes and everything that goes with it in order to sell through that inventory. And people bought a lot of bikes and they bought a lot of all those things during COVID. So the demand isn't there. There's an abundance of inventory. There's a lack of demand for the most part. So it's the last 2 years for the bicycle industry has been very challenging, very challenging.
Does that mean, however, that your, I guess, repair and parts business though must be better because now people got to maintain these bikes?
The service part of it has been okay. It's doing okay. I wouldn't call it great. It's doing okay. I think with some economic things you see going on, I think people are holding their wallets a little tighter right now. They're kind of in a wait and see kind of thing. So yeah, I mean we've got my 3 guys stay busy doing service work and taking care of the shop and doing all those things. So as far as crew goes, I'm just right, I think. But I think it's going to continue to be challenging through 2026 at the earliest, as foreseen.
What's going to loosen that market up a little bit? What's going to make that different in 2026?
I think you'll see people in their trade cycle. People that bought bikes in 2021, 22 will start shopping again for new bikes. They'll want to upgrade. They'll want the latest, the greatest, the newest. And whether that's just a better bike or if they decide they want to go to an e-bike or one of those things. So I think it's going to be more trade cycle than anything else that starts to loosen things up in 2026.
So focusing on traditional bikes, I mean, not e-bikes, for example, what's the price point nowadays? I haven't bought a bike in probably 20 years myself. Well, what are the price points one can expect?
A bike shop bike, I'm not talking a Walmart bike, anything like that. A bike shop quality bike. Right now, you can get into a bike for around the $600 area and going up from there. What was a $1,200 bike several years ago, is now a $700 bike. What was a $5,000 bike is now a $2,500, $2,800 bike. It's pretty much dang near cut in half the pricing of bikes
Okay.
of what they were. Plus, you're getting the latest and greatest geometry and all those things that go with it.
Question back to kind of your, you've been an avid bike rider for a while. Last month we spoke to our former director at endeavOR, and Jim Glover, and he had just gotten back, or he was on his way to Moab. I forgot which direction it was, riding Moab. Did you were you involved in those kind of races when you had more time to actually enjoy the bikes?
Yeah, back in the day, yeah, when I had time. I did the Road Apple rally quite a bit. Did some downhill racing, did some things like that. So enjoyed the racing. The racing for me wasn't as big of a thing for me personally. I enjoyed doing it a little bit. For me, it tended to take some of the fun out of riding because I focused more on training and trying to be faster than enjoying the ride. So I kind of stepped back from that because really mountain biking, I'm not a road biker, I'm a mountain biker. That's pretty much what I do. And that's my one thing in life where I get out on the trail and the wheels aren't turning. I run two businesses, like I said, I've got all those things. I get on the trail, the wheels aren't turning. I can focus on the trail, and I can, if I want to stop and smell the roses, I can stop and smell the roses. And I don't want to be out there training and just seeing how fast I can go, trying to beat my Strava time or whatever.
Well, so two businesses, kids, you're in limited time. We appreciate you spend time, with the industry overall, like at endeavOR, and you mentioned that you're on the is it the Outdoor Rec Committee in Farmington? Where do you see our recreational industry going to in New Mexico? What's missing that you feel that would help us propel to become recognized more like Colorado or Utah in terms of outdoor recreation?
I think really I can't think of anything that's missing. We're just in the beginnings of the growth. Things that you lay seeds for today, are going to come to fruition for 5 to 10 years. That's how things go. So if you look at, the, especially the youth sector of it, the racing sector of it, Colorado, they started doing all those things a long time ago. Farmington and the rest of New Mexico, all that is just coming into play. So, we've just, as of the last few years, started trying to get these kids on the bikes early, getting them educated early, getting them educated on the outdoors early, and do all those things. So all those kids really won't, be developed to that point for, call it 5, 10, 15 years. So I think we're laying the groundwork. I think we started laying the groundwork. I think we have nowhere to go but up. And we have all the things as far as outdoor recreation goes that we need to facilitate that. I think with the state, what they've done with the cities, whether it be Farmington or Las Cruces or all these places, have just completely embraced it. So that is the beginning of where you got to be, and we're doing that very well. So we're planting those seeds. It's just going to take 5, 10, 15 years, whatever, to watch all that grow and see it really come to fruition.
We definitely have the terrain for multi-recreational sports, everything from skiing to rafting to the bike riding. But one of the things that I wonder, I don't know if I see enough here, but I go back to when I was younger and I lived in Southern California, and there was a big, obviously, surf scene and big skate scene at the time. And you see a lot of businesses that grew out of that. They got inspired by that because that area was kind of a living laboratory for product development and testing, as well as even just branding. Where do you feel? I mean, do you think much about that? What does New Mexico offer in terms of that living laboratory for what type of activity, or where that we have an edge in that maybe someplace does not?
I think we have that edge. I'm not sure, whether it be mountain biking, we've obviously have it there. Rafting, we obviously have it there. Mountaineering, all those things, it is there. We have the terrain, we have all those things. Um, I don't know. At this point, I'm not sure what's holding that back. If it's infrastructure, I think the state has tried to embrace the manufacturing and all those things, and I think cities have done the same thing, trying to bring those companies in, trying to develop that and bring it in. Again, I think a lot of states started it way earlier than we did, and so they've captured a lot of that, and getting companies to change when they've already set roots somewhere is hard. And they tend to like to gather, it seems, in whether it's outdoor manufacturing, whether it's truck manufacturing, whether it's whatever it is, they tend to like to gather into one spot, and it makes all the logistics and everything else easier on them. So, if we can get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to come in, and they can all work together to build those logistics and make it all work, I think from there it grows. But it's just going to be tough to get that first sector in here.
I've mentioned this before. I feel my forte is more on the economic development side, trying to attract business. That's what I do in my real day job. I never considered myself an outdoor guy, although I've been a runner pretty much most of my life to some degree, and a lot of that is in trails and in the hills and the desert out here. I didn't consider myself in the outdoor rec industry until Jim Glover was telling me, yeah, that counts, right? What you do does count. But I remember attending a couple of outdoor retail shows up in Utah, maybe 7, 8 years ago, and I was amazed to learn firsthand how large the industry really was. I had no idea there were so many kayak manufacturers or helmet manufacturers or sock manufacturers, apparel manufacturers for the industry. I mean, it's one of the largest shows I think I had been to, and a lot of activity. But I think one of the fortes we have is in terms of going to what you're talking about with the manufacturing and product development. It seemed to me that a lot of these products are still being manufactured in Asia. And I would ask the question, do you not want a made in the USA branding? And every one of them said, yes, we do, but they're trying to manage those price points, right? And trying to bring it overseas or back into this area is a little bit challenging. But the fact that we have a partner next to us in terms of Mexico and their manufacturing prowess, it seems to me that our region here has a real opportunity to maybe be part of what's coming back to North America for manufacturing within this industry segment. And I think we really have a strong shot at capturing some of those types of companies for logistics, for access to manufacturing, and maybe creating some branding here. Now, that's my pitch for where I think the industry could possibly go for New Mexico. But unless you're really in the industry, I had no idea how huge the actual marketplace really is and how much we can grow from it. So,
Well, I think you're absolutely right. I think it comes down to a couple of things. One, the two things that usually attract businesses is going to be labor costs. Three things I should say: labor costs, logistics, and tax incentives. That's what brought the film industry in, was the huge tax breaks. So I think all of that has to be one package to entice companies to come in, and businesses and all those things to come in. So my opinion is, until we get all three of those things locked in, it's going to be very tough to, like I said, to get people to change. to uproot somewhere else and come in.
I agree. I think the film industry is a perfect example. It's one that was pretty much the state went all in on, right? And they kept at it until they actually experienced some successes. And we don't see the state do that for every particular industry. And I'd be hopeful that in the next couple of years that there is a little bit more I know there has been more focus, but that there's maybe more of that focus on creating those tools to be part of that business attraction to the area. But not forgetting as well, and I think this is where endeavOR comes into play, is how do we support our local businesses that are already established? They're the pioneers here. How do we help them flourish and grow in New Mexico? I know we've talked at endeavOR, we want to play a larger role in advocacy in Santa Fe for our business members and trying to be a voice for them to try to put better tools on the books, maybe a little less regulation to help them out. But you've been with endeavOR probably longer than any of the board members to date. Tell me a little bit about how you got involved with endeavOR and where your thoughts are on where we should be going at this point in time.
I got involved. Jim Glover and I were actually involved in ORI, the Outdoor Recreation Industry Initiative here in Farmington. We were involved in that together at the time I purchased the bike shop. So that's how I met Jim, and Jim said, "Hey, I have this idea. You know, we need to try to bring out the outdoor recreation companies, all the outdoor recreation manufacturers, all the outdoor recreation, everybody who loves outdoor recreation. We need to try to bring them together in one place and make one big voice," which I was completely behind. So that's kind of how I got involved with endeavOR. And Jim and I kind of took off with it from there, and now here we are. I think in the beginning, there was a great idea of bringing all these voices together. I think the direction we're heading, I see us heading now, with us being more focused on the business side of things, with us being more focused on the lobbying side of things, trying to get those tax incentives, trying to get all the things that are going to help our businesses, help grow the industry here in New Mexico. That's really got me excited, because I think in the beginning we were really involved in just trying to gather everyone together, and which is great. I think that's outstanding. But I think we now have the ability to make change and use that voice to make change, to grow the state, to grow the outdoor recreation. So I'm pretty excited on that, because I think with you at the helm, with our other board members, with Jason, I think we have an opportunity to really do that now. And I think over the next 3 to 5 years, I think endeavOR could really become a force here in the state and really invoke some really good changes, whether it be at the state level, the city level, all those things.
Well, let me use that as an opportunity to give a commercial for endeavOR. For anyone who's going to be watching this, who's in the business, we're looking for your feedback. We're looking for your voice. We'd look to you to join endeavOR and help us carve out the path. We're not going to know what the business needs are of the industry unless you're vocalizing it, so that we can try to strategize on what type of programs or incentives or tools that can be created at the state in order to advocate on behalf of the industry. So if you're watching this, please reach out to one of us and let us know and get involved. Dale, I think we've hit the hour here. I want to thank you for your time in this, and of course your commitment to the industry overall. I mean, you're helping pioneer the future, not only of the activity, the sport, but also how New Mexico grows and creates an economic opportunity for the outdoor rec industry here in New Mexico. With that, any parting words on your behalf, Dale?
No, like I said, I'm excited, Davin, for you to be steering the ship right now. I think you bring a lot to it. I think our leadership is really strong at endeavOR. And like you were saying, I think if we can get more people involved, if we can bring more people to the table, if we can get a lot more people to join us, really the sky's the limit. So I'm pretty excited, and I appreciate you having me on today.
All right. Thank you, Dale. We'll talk to you pretty soon.
All right, take care.